The real revelation after 27 years isn't scandal, it's complexity. And for many, that truth is far more unsettling than any headline ever could be. For decades, Petula Clark stood as a symbol of elegance, optimism, and timeless talent. With her bright smile, unmistakable voice, and chart-topping hits like Downtown, she became one of the most recognizable and beloved performers of the 20th century. To the public, her life appeared charmed, filled with applause, success, and admiration across generations. But behind the spotlight, behind the polished performances and international fame, Petula Clark's story is far more heartbreaking than most fans ever realized. What really happened to Petula Clark is not a single tragedy, but a lifetime of quiet sacrifices, emotional losses, and personal battles that were largely hidden from the world. A childhood spent working, not dreaming. Petula Clark was born in 1932 in England, during a time when the world was still reeling from economic depression and on the brink of war. While many children were shielded from adult responsibilities, Petula's childhood unfolded very differently. She entered the entertainment industry as a child, performing on radio programs during World War II. Her innocent voice brought comfort to soldiers and families during some of Britain's darkest days. While audiences heard hope, Petula was growing up far too fast. Instead of schoolyard games and carefree years, her life became structured around rehearsals, broadcasts, and expectations. Fame came early, but so did pressure. Many who later reflected on her early years acknowledged that Petula never truly experienced a normal childhood. She was admired, praised, and relied upon, but rarely protected from the emotional weight that came with being a public figure at such a young age. Fame that never let her rest. As Petula transitioned into adulthood, her career didn't slow. It exploded. By the 1960s, she was an international superstar. Downtown became an anthem, topping charts worldwide and cementing her legacy in pop music history. She dominated radio, television, and live performances across Europe and the United States. But success came at a price. Petula worked relentlessly, often touring while recording albums and appearing on television specials simultaneously. The industry expected perfection, and she delivered it every time. Behind the scenes, however, exhaustion and isolation became constant companions. While her peers enjoyed personal lives and time away from the spotlight, Petula remained locked into a cycle of performance and obligation. Fame gave her everything except peace, a marriage that changed everything. One of the most pivotal and painful chapters in Petula Clark's life came through her marriage to Claude Wolfe. While their union initially seemed supportive, over time it became increasingly complicated. Wolfe also served as her manager, creating a dynamic where personal life and professional control became dangerously intertwined. Those close to the situation later suggested that Petula's career decisions, creative freedom, and even personal choices were often dictated by others. Her independence was limited, not because she lacked strength, but because she was constantly placed in positions where saying no came at a heavy cost. The emotional toll of living under constant oversight quietly reshaped her life. The career sacrifices fans never knew about. At the height of her fame, Petula Clark was offered opportunities that could have reshaped her career even further. Film roles, expanded television ventures, and creative projects that would have allowed her to evolve with changing times. Many of those opportunities never materialized. Why? Because behind the scenes, decisions were made for her, contracts were declined, directions were changed, and gradually, Petula found herself stepping back, not because audiences lost interest, but because her path was being redirected. This slow narrowing of options left her feeling trapped in an image that no longer reflected who she truly was, the loneliness of being universally loved. Ironically, one of Petula Clark's greatest tragedies was how deeply she was loved by the public, and how lonely that made her feel. Fans adored her cheerful songs and graceful presence, but few ever asked how she was really doing. The expectation that she always appear upbeat and composed meant that vulnerability was rarely allowed. In interviews later in life, Petula hinted at emotional isolation. She spoke carefully, never dramatically, but the message was clear. Being admired by millions doesn't guarantee being understood by anyone. The quiet pain of aging in the spotlight. As decades passed, the industry that once celebrated Petula Clark began to move on. Younger artists emerged, trends shifted, and nostalgia replaced relevance in the public conversation. For many performers, aging in the spotlight brings a unique pain. Petula faced it with dignity, but it still hurt. She had devoted her entire life to entertainment, yet suddenly found herself treated as a legacy act rather than a living artist. Offers slowed, media attention faded, and the applause, once deafening, became sporadic. Still, she never lashed out. She never complained. Instead, she endured in silence, lost reflection, and a life reconsidered. In later years, Petula Clark faced personal losses that further deepened her sense of reflection. Friends passed away. Relationships changed. The world she once knew became distant. Rather than retreat completely, she chose to continue